Hi guys! Thank you for joining! My name is Anna and welcome to this channel. If you're planning to travel to Canada anytime soon, you'd better listen to this video carefully. In this video I'm going to talk about main steps and requirements you should know and expect when traveling to Canada during the pandemic. These measures were implemented to combat the spread of COVID-19 and they will stay until it's safer to travel. First of all, Canadian government insists that all non-essential travel should be avoided. But if you do decide to travel, it's your responsibility to follow the rules, otherwise you can be fined or even go to jail. First of all, I'd like to say that this video is not a legal or professional advice. It's just that I did my research because I've been getting lots of questions regarding this topic and I want to be helpful to you. In return, I would like to ask you to please tap that like button below and subscribe to our channel not to miss any new videos. To begin, let's go to travel.gc.ca website. First, you need to complete a survey to determine whether you're allowed to enter the country at this time. To do that, go to travel website and click on COVID-19 Travel, Quarantine and Borders. You'll see the questionnaire. Find out if you can enter Canada. Answer all the questions and you'll see if you can travel to Canada or not. And if it says you can, you'll see all the information about what's required from you. Let's dive deeper into who is allowed entry to Canada. There are two main groups of people trying to enter Canada: a Canadian citizen, a permanent resident of Canada, a person registered under the Indian Act, or a protected person, a foreign national, including a United States citizen. If you're in the first group, you can enter Canada, but you'll need to follow some requirements even before you board your flight. Only 4 major international airports are accepting international flights to Canada. Those are Toronto, Calgary, Montreal, and Vancouver. If you're in the second group, you can travel only if you are reuniting with family, an international student, entering for essential work activities or employment reasons, receiving essential medical services or treatments, transiting through Canada, coming from the US, entering for compassion reasons, or a French citizen who lives in Saint-Pierre and Miquelon. If you received your confirmation of permanent residency and you need to enter Canada to activate it, we have 2 options here. In the first option, if you received your confirmation of permanent residency before March 18, 2020, you will be allowed to enter Canada, but the final determination will be made by the government official at the port of entry, and you should be entering Canada to settle down permanently. In the second option, if you received your confirmation of permanent residency after March 18, 2020, you will not be allowed to enter Canada. However, you can be allowed entry to Canada if you're traveling because of another reason that is permitted. For instance, you are reuniting with your family, so a family member is sponsoring you. Before you travel to Canada, walk your way through every step in the process to understand how to plan and prepare. Every step has specific requirements and exemptions that will follow through to later stages of your travel. When going through the process of preparing for a trip, I suggest you use the same email address. For instance, when you're registering for your COVID-19 testing upon arrival or booking a hotel. Now, if you are in a group of people who are allowed entry to Canada, let's talk about 6 main steps to prepare for when traveling to Canada. Firstly, before traveling to Canada, check the list of provincial and territorial restrictions. I'll leave the link to the full list below in the description of this video. Your next step would be to assess your quarantine plan before you travel. As of today, all permitted arrivals to Canada must use ArriveCan website or app to submit their travel and contact information, as well as 14-day quarantine plan and COVID-19 symptom self-assessment. The quarantine plan must detail things like where you will stay, how you will get there, and how will you arrange for delivery of essentials such as groceries and medicine. You will not be allowed to have visits from family or friends, and you must avoid contact with others who didn't travel with you. And if you fail to stick to the plan, it can lead to 6 months in jail or a huge fine. Your quarantine period starts on the day you arrive to Canada, and it lasts for 14 days. But if you have contact with someone who has symptoms with COVID, or if you test positive, or if you have symptoms of COVID-19, your 14 days start all over again. The Government of Canada uses information you provided in ArriveCan to check if you arrived at your place of quarantine and if you are sending daily reports of COVID-19 symptom self-assessment. So you should be expecting some calls, emails, and visits from Government of Canada representatives. You may be exempt from the mandatory quarantine requirements under certain conditions, including if you provide essential services, maintain the flow of essential goods or people, are receiving medical care within 36 hours of entering Canada, regularly cross the border for work, or live in an integrated trans-border community. For more details, including the list of documents you need if you are crossing the border for work, please check travel.gc.ca website or check the description of this video for more useful links. Your next step would be to get your pre-entry COVID-19 test. All travelers older than 5 years of age, regardless of their citizenship, must provide a COVID-19 negative test result. This PCR test must be done within 72 hours of the scheduled departure time of your flight to Canada. It means that if you have connecting flights, you should think this through in advance, because you might end up booking a test in the transit city. Having a PCR test doesn't replace a mandatory 14-day quarantine period. If you break the quarantine, you risk getting fines. Airlines will be checking your negative COVID-19 test result before boarding your flight at the point of departure. Next, you will need to reserve a government-authorized hotel for 3 nights before your departure to Canada. You will take another COVID-19 test on arrival at the airport when you arrive, and you will go to the hotel and stay there for 3 nights to wait for the results. You will have to pay for the hotel and provide the proof of reservation through ArriveCan. After this mandatory hotel stopover, you will be required to complete your 14-day quarantine period. I'll leave the link to the list of government-authorized hotels in the description below. There are only 3 cases when travelers are exempt from the 3-night hotel stay. It's when you're an unaccompanied minor, or an unaccompanied dependent, or if you're already exempt from the requirement to undergo arrival testing, or are already exempt from the requirement to quarantine, as I mentioned previously. Foreign workers in certain seasonal occupations are exempt from the hotel stopover as well, but some conditions apply. Please check the description of this video for useful links. Next, you should register for your on-arrival test in advance. So that COVID-19 test that I mentioned that you have to do before you exit the airport. If you want to speed through the whole process, I suggest you register for the test in advance, but you can also register at the airport. Once again, there are 4 major airports accepting international flights. It's Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver and Calgary. So you will have your test upon arrival and your hotel stopover at one of those airports before traveling any further. You will also be provided a COVID-19 test kit to use on your day 10 of mandatory quarantine. Your kit will contain all the information you need to know about how to collect, contain and ship your sample. Last but not least, use ArriveCan to submit your travel, contact information, as well as quarantine plan. The day after you arrived in Canada, you must use ArriveCan app or website to confirm that you checked in the government-authorized hotel or you arrived to your self-isolation location, as well as provide daily COVID-19 symptom self-assessment until the end of your quarantine period. Government of Canada officials will call you to confirm that you comply with mandatory self-isolation and quarantine conditions. You must answer calls from this number and answer the questions truthfully to demonstrate your compliance with the law. You may also receive visits from screening officer who will check your compliance with isolation or quarantine orders. If you are exempt from having to quarantine, you don't have to report after you enter Canada. So, let's sum it up. If you're flying, the main steps to enter Canada would be: check provincial and territorial restrictions, use ArriveCan and have your ArriveCan receipt ready for assessment by a border services officer, have your COVID-19 test 72 hours prior to your flight to Canada, register for your arrival test and book a hotel for stopover, Have your arrival can receipt, test results, hotel confirmation, and quarantine plans ready for assessment by a border services officer. Upon arrival to Canada, take a test and go to pre-booked hotel for 3 nights to wait for the test results. If your test is negative, go to the location of your 14-day quarantine. Register for your day 10 test and take it when the time comes, and await results. If your test is negative, you are free to finish your 14-day quarantine. If your test is positive, you'll need to start another 14-day quarantine, even if you don't have any symptoms. The main steps to enter Canada if you're driving would be: check provincial and territorial restrictions, use ArriveCAN and have your ArriveCAN receipt ready for assessment by a border services officer at a land border crossing, receive your arrival and day 10 test kits, complete your arrival test at the border if testing stations are available on site, follow the instructions for driving to your place of quarantine, register your day 10 test kit in advance, use ArriveCAN to check in and report daily, use your day 10 test kit when the time comes and await results. If your test is negative, you're free to finish your 14-day quarantine. If your test is positive, you'll need to start another 14-day quarantine, even if you don't have any symptoms. Now, I see a lot of people asking the same questions on social media about how to travel to Canada during the pandemic, and I'd like to go through some of those frequently asked questions with you. I've put some of those frequently asked questions together and decided to do some research and prepare the answers to make life easier for you. What happens if I can't book a hotel for stopover? Or what happens if I can't register for my on-arrival COVID test? If for some reason you can't book a room, for instance everything is full, you must adjust your travel plans to make sure you have government-authorized accommodations booked prior to your arrival, otherwise you might be subject to penalties. Once you land at the airport, you'll need to go through CBSA officers. They will be checking everyone's passports and pre-departure COVID test results. Then, prior to immigration, is when you use those machines where you fill in your declaration forms. You'll be met by public health staff. They will be checking if you pre-registered for your COVID test upon arrival and if you've pre-booked your hotel. If you've done none of that, they will be helping you and assisting you to register for your on-arrival test and book a hotel room. If you state that you don't have money for your hotel, you will be considered unable to quarantine. This means that you must follow the directions of the screening officer, and you will be sent to a designated federal quarantine facility provided by the Government of Canada for the full 14-day quarantine period, and you might be subject to penalties. If I was vaccinated, do I still need to follow the rules of quarantine? Yes. Having been vaccinated unfortunately doesn't mean you can't get or spread the virus. Think of it as a flu vaccine. Your symptoms might be significantly reduced. You might not have any symptoms at all, but you still can get infected and you can still carry the virus and spread it. So quarantine rules still apply. If I get my negative test result sooner, can I leave the hotel or do I have to stay for 3 days? Yes, you can leave, but you won't be refunded for the rest of the time you didn't spend in the hotel, as those hotels usually sell it as a package of 3 days total. However, it won't hurt to ask nicely. Maybe they will refund your unused days in the hotel. If you leave the hotel before obtaining your test results, it will be considered a violation of Quarantine Act. You will be issued fines of up to $3,000 for each day of non-compliance. Can travelers share accommodation at the stopover hotel? Yes, those who have traveled together may share a room. You should check the availability and the prices on the hotel's website or just call them. If you are members of one family but you traveled on different flights, you will have to quarantine separately. This condition applies because one of you could get infected on the flight while the other didn't. What if I have children with me, or pets, or dietary restrictions? Can hotels accommodate all that? Just like in case with ordinary hotels, these government-approved hotels for stopover should be able to accommodate all your needs. Having a pet will be charged extra. Please contact the hotels directly to clear the questions you have, like dietary restrictions, special facilities or children's menu. How can I arrange groceries or other necessities delivered to my place during 14-day quarantine? There are many options. You can either call your friends or family to help you with drop-offs, but remember you're not allowed to have them as guests, or you can use apps like Uber Eats, Skip the Dishes, Instacart, and big grocery shops like Walmart have delivery apps too. What if I missed the call from the officer checking up on my compliance with mandatory quarantine? Should I call them back? Don't worry, you don't have to call them back. They will call you again and you can explain the situation like you were in the shower singing too loudly and you just didn't hear the call. They can also pay you a visit. Make sure you check your emails, including junk box, because they will be sending emails with reminders to follow the rules. If you have more questions, I'll leave the link in the description of this video for more frequently asked questions. You can also visit travel.gc.ca website for more details. If you have specific questions, you may also call this number. And please remember that following these measures and rules is in the interest of public health of all of us. In the end of the day, the better we adhere to these restrictions, the sooner we will be able to go back to normal. So please avoid all non-essential travel. It's important to note that all the measures that we discussed in this video are temporary and they can change in the weeks to come. So keep an eye on the news and the website. We all hope that the world can come back to normal, the sooner the better. Thank you for watching. If this video was helpful for you, or if I managed to answer some of your questions, please click the like button below and subscribe to our channel for more useful content. If you know someone who might be traveling to Canada anytime soon, help a friend out and share this video with them. Take care, stay safe, and bye friends!